Welcome to the Real Dani Show. I'm super excited. I'm the host, Dani Hampton, and today I have Tiffany Bachman, which I hope I am not botching your last name. I started second
No, you
guessing
got it right.
myself. Okay,
You're
great.
good.
So this Real Dani Show is focused on having real conversations, being able to pull out real lessons, things that we did not learn in real estate school. And I'm super excited to talk to Tiffany today because she is a fellow Dallas Fort Worth real estate agent who is growing an amazing team. And it sounds like she's learned a lot of lessons as she's grown this real estate team. And she just recently joined my brokerage. But the conversation today is going to be mainly about leadership, growing a team, and the behind the scenes of that. So Tiffany, I would love for you to just give a quick intro for anyone who doesn't know you, to know where you came from, what made you start the team, and maybe just how you got where you are today.
Yeah, sure. So we have 4 kiddos, and I was a juvenile probation officer before real estate. So there's really no comparison between the two. I did that for about 9 years, and we were about to have my daughter. And so that would put us at 3 kids in daycare and 1 in after school programs, which was pretty much my full salary being a juvenile probation officer. So I decided to leave that after 9 years, be a stay-at-home mom. And then I just got really bored. I love my kids. I love my daughter. We have 3 boys and a girl. And it was just, my purpose has always been like, I want to be busy. I want to make money. I want to help other people. And so after a year of being a stay-at-home mom, I found a Groupon online for like a $400 real estate course. And my husband was like, you'd be good at it. And his aunt who ran a team in Houston was like, you'd be good at it. I was like, why not? Let's go for it. So that's kind of my story of how I got started. I was never like, I want to be a realtor when I grow up. I want to lead a team when I grow up. It was like, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be an investigator. I want to work with kids. And then now I work with a lot of adults.
Well, I'm sure that there's probably something from that job, right? I feel like there's something we can pull from almost every job we've ever had that is like, oh, this actually really helped me in this job, right? So perhaps that investigation or even just managing people, right? What do you think really helps you from having that previous role to your team leader role today?
So I think it really helped me with contracts because I was a pre-court juvenile probation officer. So if a kid wasn't following the rules and I had to get a warrant, I had to follow the contract, explain the contract to get them back in, the facility. So a lot of that was it. I have my master's in family studies and I was doing one-on-one coaching for a while. So I feel like that helps a lot because as realtors, I think we're counselors as well. When I'm helping run a team and structure a team, a lot of that is looking at, the relationship aspect of it versus the transactional aspect of it. So I feel like all those student loans were probably worth it more in real estate versus juvenile probation.
Well, as long as they're worth it, because I know that they're not cheap. So tell me how growing a real estate team, I feel like anyone who's gotten their real estate license, I don't feel like any of us have that on our radar. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to become a team leader. I'm going to own a real estate team, or even understanding the size team you even want. So I would love to kind of learn more about where you made that transition from I'm a solo realtor to I want to grow a real estate team.
So I always say my husband made me do it, which is part of the bit, but not all of it. So I came from a team with Keller Williams, my first 3.5, 4 years of real estate. I had a great experience. There were things that I loved about it. There were things that I thought could have been done better. Thought that if being a buyer's agent on the team, there's things that you see and you're like, oh, that works. That's a great idea. And other things where you're like, that didn't make me feel comfortable, or that, makes me feel not important, or like I'm not doing my job correctly, or that I'm not being supported the way that I want to. So when I went on my own with Fathom, I had no desire to start a team. And that was in June 2019. Well, from June to August, I had like probably 15, 20 files on my own. And there was no way I could handle that on my own. And I'm very big in customer service, making sure my clients get the full, the best version of me, not the chaotic version of me. And so at that point, my husband's like, why don't you add a couple agents to help with all the leads that you have? And I'm like, okay, we can do that. So it started with me and 2 agents, completely winged it. And now we're at about 65. We were closer to a 90 or 100 before we left our last brokerage. It was just when we made the transition, there were several we didn't ask to come with us. There were several that wanted to stay with the brokerage. And then on our team side, 100% of admin, team leaders, and team agents came with us. So it was kind of a big change, but it was going from, you know, 3 agents to 10 agents to 20 agents. And then I was like, crap, that's a lot of agents and we don't have any structures in place. So at that point, you're making mistakes. You know what I mean? It's like you think you figure out a solution and then it might create 2 more problems. And then you create another solution and then there's something you didn't think about that creates 2 more problems. So it's always problem solving, but building with the right people.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you want to dig a little deeper because on the team growing side, because I think that's something again where I think that plays differently for a lot of different real estate team owners. That for one, I don't know if you know exactly what you're equipped for in leadership when it comes to having, right, like I can handle all day long having 2 to 3 real estate agents. When I personally was in my team growing phase, the second I got over 10 agents, I realized at that point that if I wasn't really focused on the structure, which I was focused on the structure, but I was still allowing a lot of input coming from the team to have influence on those decisions. I realized that at
Mhm.
that point, I was like, could I even handle 10 more people on my team? Because again, you're getting 10 more people's inputs, their voices, their complaints. So I would love to kind of hear
And
through those stages of growth.
yeah, so I've always had a big fear of setting someone up for failure. And so for me, when we got to the point to where I didn't feel like I could handle it my own and I was setting them up for failure, or not setting them up for the success that I wanted them to have, it was okay, let's slow it down, reevaluate, and maybe add someone else that can help do the things I'm not good at or help do the things that I don't like to do so I can do more of the things that I love to do so I'm happier and more excited about it and just, you know what I mean? Like focus more on the things that I'm good at. And so Lindsay has been with me pretty much since day one. She helps run the real estate side team with me. She's way more organized. She runs our CRM, which is Follow Up Boss. She's way smarter at a lot of the things that I don't understand. But it was also finding ways to delegate things that you might not be the best at or that you might not love to do. And so once we were able to delegate and get team leaders involved and get admin involved, we were able to actually grow more because every team leader has about 5 to 8 agents on their team that they coach. And so we kind of have a structure in place to where the agents never feel left out. They always feel like they have someone that they can go to. If they're coming to me, the problem might be a little bit bigger, but we have steps in place for them always to have someone to go to grow, to ask questions, to, help resolve issues with their clients. Or if the clients have issues, they can always come to me. But it took us a while to figure out what worked. And we still find things all the time that we don't work. Like we had a team leader meeting yesterday and we're like, okay, these things aren't working. We have to fix it because our goal this year is to double in size. We want to be at 135 agents by the end of the year. And it's like we have to figure out what we're doing wrong now and nip it and change it before we add another 70 agents and then everything's out of control. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. When I can relate to a lot of things that you said, but I also think there's a lot of times where you have to be super courageous, which I'm assuming that that's something that you do have because to keep growing like that, you have to truly let go, right? Like you were talking about delegating, and I think that as a team leader, if you're not willing to truly let go of something and let somebody else own their role, I feel like that probably is one of the most challenging things to experience with growth because you have to allow those people, like you said, you want everybody to be set up for success. And when you're building out those roles in your team to be able to go, you're a team leader, now you own this. This is your team to manage. So was there any hard lessons that you experienced that was like, oh yeah, I was still holding on trying to manage this and I really needed to like let it go? Is there anything that in that growth period that stood out to you that you were like, yep, this is what happened and this is how we learned and this is how we shifted?
Well, every leader is going to have different good qualities and bad qualities, just like me as a team leader and owner. Like there's some things I'm great at, there's some things I'm awful at. I'm also very blunt and to the point, and there's times where I need to calm it down and be like, my tone's not great. I need to tone it down. So everyone's going to have their good and bad qualities, but it's also like realizing what their strengths are and understanding what their weaknesses are, and maybe having those one-on-ones to help them be more confident about their weaknesses, or making sure we're teaming up team leaders with the right personality with the agents that we're putting underneath them, so there's, less chaos and more respect there. I'm also very big into loyalty, so there's been times we've put people in positions in the past that shouldn't have necessarily been in that position, but because I was loyal to them, and I was like, to me, it felt like the right thing to do. But now later, I'm like, that was not the best idea. Like, I should have looked into that more, or, prepared for that more, because you can be a great person and a great team player, but not necessarily a great leader.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like something I'm working on right now is sharing with just any other real estate agents who are in that growth phase and they're figuring out, like, do I want to grow a team? I'm starting to handle more deals than I'm comfortable with. How do I expand? So when did you feel like you finally learned the right people who are meant for your world? And again, just understanding like people and their roles, like did it take a few years for you to figure that out?
Yeah, but I think there's gonna be a point maybe in 5 months where I'm like, "Oops, I did it again." Like, that wasn't the best decision, I think it's always evolving, and the more we grow, the more challenges you're gonna have. It's just we wanna have as many challenges and obstacles completed in the first place. Like when we just switched brokerages, we had 7 weeks of planning before we made the switch, because I'm like, this doesn't just affect me, it's affecting 65 agents, and we want to do this the right way. We don't want it to interfect with any of their pending clients. We don't want it to affect with, their CDAs, all of that stuff. So it was very big into putting all these processes in place the last 6 weeks to make it smooth. And we still had a crap ton of hiccups, and it was like, crap, never thought of that. And then pedal, 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 try to figure that out, come up with a solution, hope it works. So I think it's going to always be evolving. I know from the very beginning, me and 3 agents, I could handle that. But once we got to like 10, 15, I was like, okay, I can't still be in full production and handle that. So that was one thing. I was doing 30 to 50 a year transactions on my own. So it was also like letting go of that and being like, okay, I need to decide which avenue I want to go. I can't keep all of my clients happy and work, as a leader for all these agents and raise 4 kids. So it was kind of one of those things to where now I'm not fully out of production, but I probably only do 1 or 2 a year just to make sure I'm still in the game, understanding things. But I see it now as more of a principal role versus a teacher role. Like if you're in the classroom, I'm more managing the agents, managing the background of things, and instead of being out in the field with agents or with the clients one on one.
Okay. When did that role for you change? Like when did you know like, okay, I need to step more into that leadership role of your team and this organization versus being the feet on the ground anymore? Like what year did that change for you?
So I think we started the Zillow Preferred program. We've been on it for 5 years now. After that first full year of being a top Zillow team, it was like, okay, I can't do it anymore. Cause I think that was the last year I did like 40, 45, and we were probably at like 15 agents. And I was like, I kind of have to pick and choose my battles, but I'm also making sure we're adding agents to the team that I trust. So when my clients are calling me asking for, me to help them buy or sell, I can confidently let them know you're actually getting an agent that's just as good as me, if not better than me. And you get both of us, and I'm still here to support you. But here's so and so on our team who services that area and is great. And so I'm able to provide agents leads that way, but I'm also able to provide confidence to my clients because they trust me, knowing that I'm still there for them and that I'm giving them to an agent that I am fully confident that will take care of them.
Yeah, that's huge because I think that that's the part where agents have the hardest time as team leaders to be
Yeah.
able to really go, okay, I know that I'm still in real estate, but I also trust my team to be able to handle these people. And I feel like that's something that again, I don't think we really feel prepared for. Like you said, like you're going to constantly be learning as you're even in this broker change, that it's like, okay, there's going to be things that I'm like, yep, we probably could have prepared for that better, right? But I think that that is huge, to trust your team enough to be able to go, okay, I trust these hands helping my people, and being able to go, I can again play that principal role. So for more context for anybody who's listening again who might not know you, you have a team that covers Dallas, Fort Worth, but it looks like you also have a expansion. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so we cover about 130 to 140 zip codes here in DFW. We have agents all over DFW, and then we do have a smaller expansion team out in Houston that we are growing out there as well. Which that in itself has been a lot of learning lessons because we're not physically there. And I feel like when you have boots on the ground and you're talking to people every day, seeing them every day, the trust is there more, that relationship there is more. So when you go meet them one time and we do training and then come back to DFW and we don't know that market as well, we've had our own struggles there that we're still learning from because we don't have actually boots on the ground that help, you know, supervise or run the program out there. Out here we've been super successful. Like I think you had said before, you know, we've been on the Zillow Flex now preferred program for over 5 years. And that's where we really saw the growth in the business when we look year to year. Like 2024, I think we closed 500 deals and did 200 million in volume. 2025, that jumped up to almost 650 deals with, I think, close to 250 million in volume. And every year it's increased. Like I think our very first year of real estate, that was 2020, we did 35 million in volume and like maybe 100 transactions. So it's grown year over year. And we're talking about in markets like 2024, that was very, very hard. Even 2025 was very, very hard. So for me, I'm like, we have this great lead system program that we have done very good at training and coaching at, and learning what works and what doesn't work to provide the tools to agents to be successful on it. And it's like, I want to share that with as many people as we can. Now we can just lead a horse to water and hope that they can do it, but they are getting training and coaching. And as a team leader, before you understand that, like, it does sometimes get frustrating because it's like you've trained, you've coached, but then they don't want to show up, or they're having problems that have already been explained, and they're all adults. So it's just, it's a different, it's a thing.
You're right. I mean, well, that's the part where for me, I'm just still like, me and you are different humans. You to have a team of 65 agents, and you've had more, right?
Yeah.
To the point where it's like, that's a whole different level of like true understanding of management, and being able to be like, again, I can only lead someone so far. I can only provide so much. But
Mhm.
what I want to dig deeper on is, there's a lot of real estate agents who aren't sure how they feel about Zillow. And so,
Yeah.
of course, I know that it's one of those things where you hate it or you're going to love it, right? And so clearly in your numbers, Zillow is working for you. So I would love to kind of dig in on your mindset of that.
So I think out of our 640 to 50 closings for 2025, over 400 of those were Zillows. And one thing that I'm big on is, you're right, the average agent either loves it or hates it, but the average consumer is always going to that platform. Like I think a lead we got last week was on the Texas Rangers. You know what I mean? Like they're kind of
Oh,
coming all over the place. And we've had lots of people come from California, New York, different states. Like we're getting a lot of relocations, but at the end of the day, I'm very confident in our agents, and I know they're great agents. So when you get this, you know, these people say don't use a Zillow agent because they're part-time agents or they don't do that. I don't believe that's true at all. Like we have over 700 5-star reviews on Zillow. I think we have over 200 5-star reviews on Google. Like we are very involved with our clients. We have a great team of agents that are going to take care of them, going to negotiate for them, going to do all of that. And I feel like stereotypically there's a lot of agents that say don't use a Zillow agent because they work for Zillow. We don't work for Zillow. We have our own team. We partner with Zillow to get leads, but also to make sure we're taking care of our clients. They have standards for us as well. Like we have to have good customer service rates. We have to have good closing rates. We have very good agents that are taking care of their great clients. So I
yeah.
guess if that makes sense, I'm very confident in the agents that we have to take care of clients who want to buy homes or sell homes that go through Zillow to either find an agent or tour a property. I'm very confident in our agents that they're going above and beyond before our clients.
Yeah, because you're solving a huge problem for real estate agents, right? When it comes to this last few years, lead generating, right? Lead generating has become super hard. It's either you nail it on social media and you know how to generate leads that way. However, there's so
Mhm.
many other things that it's like you can't convince people to buy or move or sell when the news in itself, right? The interest rate, the news, just that scarcity mindset, it keeps working against us. So, having a platform like you guys are really leveraging Zillow to be able to go, okay, these are people who are getting online. They're going to the website that they know and see all the time being marketed. So now you're like,
Mhm.
okay, again, you either you love them or you hate them, you join them. And but then like you just said, I love that you brought this out there because I will admit I'm almost certain I've also have dogged a Zillow realtor before, right? That I'm like, hey, I you don't know who you're getting when you're clicking schedule a tour.
Mhm.
There's no guarantee sometimes where is it going to go to a team like you or is it going to go to possibly someone who's a part-time
A new
agent, not
agent.
yeah. So I think that's what do your agents on your team think? Like, is that, do you feel like that's one of the main drivers of them joining your team because you are closing so many from this lead source? They get to remove that stress of lead generation?
Well, and I always tell our agents, if you're doing your job correctly, that one closing should turn into 4 or 5. That's how I built my business. Like I've had clients that I've sold 8 or 9 houses to. Those give me their friends, their family. Like I've earned that relationship with them. I've earned that trust with them. I worked my butt off. I got them to the finish line. We built that relationship together and I did my job correctly. That one closing can now turn into 3 or 4 if I'm doing my job correctly. And that's kind of how we let the agents know as well. Like they will refer you if you're doing things correctly, and it's the same thing that will help build your business farther down the road as well. So, I think did I answer your question? Because I feel like I might have missed something.
Yeah, I mean, that's always gonna happen. Yeah, because right, it's that point of going like that's we're only solving one step for you, right? Like we're not over here trying to be like go 100%, you're fully dependent on these leads.
Yeah.
It's to the point of going, this is allowing you to fill in those gaps of business. And if you're in the newer phase, or if you're in this phase of just maybe you've been an experienced real estate agent, and again, real estate is rapidly changing. I'm
Yeah.
like every single year it is rapidly changing. So if you again just don't know where your leads are coming from, then this definitely sounds like you have solved that problem for a lot of realtors. So just them joining your team, this allows them to kind of fill in those gaps, but also your coaching, your leadership, your growth can help them expand on that, right? Not just be completely lead dependent. Is that something you speak in your culture?
Yeah, so we have 4 different programs, and I can kind of explain that here in a little bit, but our main program that we've started with day 1 is our team program, and culture is very big into that. We do motivational Mondays, we do potlucks, we do trainings every month, and we try to get agents in the office to do pop buys, like real estate can be lonely. It can be very hard. And it's like having people in your corner knowing they're going through the same struggles as you. Motivational Monday listings have been sitting for a while. So agents come in and said, my listing's been sitting for 3 months. I've done 3 open houses. I've done this for marketing. I've done reverse prospecting. And then other agents are like, well, have you tried this? Have you tried this? No, I haven't. Try this. Okay. 2 weeks later, it might be under contract or we're getting more showings. So it's having the input of other agents as well, but on the team platform, we pretty much provide everything. We provide a TC that's full time. We provide our main office is in Denton, and we also have one in Bridgeport. We provide signs, Supras, a full time marketing director. We cover pictures, photography for listings. Being a Zillow team, we provide Zillow Showcase on some of our listings to help market our listings and win more listing appointments. So we have a lot of tools in place and support. Everyone has a team leader. We do the group meetings, culture clubs, things like that for the team aspect of it. We also have a program, which is more of a partner program for agents that want their own branding. They want their own independence, but they want leads to help supplement the business they're already bringing in. And for that one, we still have standards you have to meet with metrics and things like that with Zillow to get the leads. But other than that, they have a lot more autonomy. Whatever program they're on, we provide Follow Up Boss, which is a very great CRM. We go through there and have tons of drip campaigns, newsletters. Like, we provide a lot of tools just in the CRM alone, because you get very busy and it's hard to follow up with your clients. And then we also have a team program for agents who don't want leads, but they want the culture, they want the camaraderie, they want all the other things that we offer. And then they have better personal splits, but they don't get the team leads. And then our last program that we offer is like a team to team partnership. So we have partnered with teams that have 5, 6, 7 agents, and they have their own course of running their team, but they want extra leads to supplement their agent's business. We work with them as well and have a different program for them. And at that point, their team leader is in charge of doing their one-on-ones and their metrics and stuff like that. But we coach their team leader to coach them. That way we're not stepping on anyone's toes. So we've kind of
because
evolved.
that one's definitely an interesting.
Yeah,
You've been doing this for
and
over a year.
all of that changed probably a year and a half ago. So we've been a team since September 2019, so a little over 6 years. And we didn't start all of those programs until probably a year and a half ago. And when we started it, it was just the partner program. And then we're like, hey, we can really partner with teams too, because a lot of them have great team leaders. They have their culture in place and all of that, but maybe they're not getting the lead sources that they want. And so we've grown it over time to where we were always just one program, but not one program fits everybody. Everybody's at different, steps in their career. And sometimes we have people that are on the team and then they're like, we'd like to switch to the partner program, or they like the partner program and they're like, we want more support. We want to go to the team program. So sometimes it's like, see which one you want to start at, and then we can evolve and change it if you want to.
Do you see that change happen a lot for you?
Not too often. Once we made the move, we had a couple from the partner program move to the team, and then we've had a couple move from the team to the partner and then move back to the team. The team is just more of a family. Like, we run our team like a family. Not that we don't run the other programs like that, but a lot of those agents aren't looking for that, or they don't want that. So it's evolved over time, and we're still kind of figuring out things, because we have tier systems, we have caps, we have a loyalty program. Those have evolved over time because we're like, hey, we need to reward the people that are closing more deals, that are helping more clients. So it used to be black and white, this is how it is. And then it would change to, okay, let's offer caps, let's offer a tier system, let's offer loyalty program. And a lot of that comes from us talking to our team leaders as well. Like, when we made the change to switch from our old brokerage to Real, me and my husband were the rainmakers. We didn't say, this is what we're doing, y'all are coming with us. We took all the information. We had interviewed a couple brokerages, took it all to our admin, took it all to our team leader. 100% of those, which I think there's like maybe 10 or 12 of us, all said, yes, let's go to Real. And then at that point, we presented it to our team. 100% of those said, yes, we're on board. The transition, it takes time because you want them to close out their files and do all of that stuff. But overall, like, just knowing that many people were on board, and the loyalty and what they see value in is Bachman Realty Group, not a broker or not a program. It's just what we built together was very special.
That's awesome. I mean, honestly, kudos to you, because that is one of the hardest things to do, is to get, it's one thing to have 5 people say yes, but to have 5 people to 12 people to 20 plus people, it's to the point where you're like, okay, we're doing something right, which I have to applaud you for, because again, from having a little bit of experience in that team growth. And go ahead.
I said, we do a lot of stuff, a lot of things wrong too, that we're trying to still learn from, but I don't ever see that changing. I mean, it's just a part of life and part of running a business.
Well, amen to that. Because that is the part about this show that I feel like that's because we are living through the lens of what we see online, right? We are living through the lens of what other people are willing to share. And many people aren't willing to share what their failures are or those hard lessons. And again, a lot of people might see you running a 65-person team. And again, or even just like changing brokerages or whatever it is, that doesn't mean it's the right choice for everybody. So before I dig into like that real side of things, I am curious, brokerage changes are huge. Like if we weren't just talking about like where you came from and where you went, but just even to that thought process, because again, this isn't just your decision. So what kind of brought you to that point of like, I think we need to change brokerages? What brought you to that decision of changing brokerages? Because this wasn't just your decision to make. So what made you go, I think we need to put ourselves under a different umbrella?
So I don't like change, and I'm a very loyal person just in general, which I think is a good thing and a bad thing, because sometimes when you're too loyal, you put up like you not that you put up with too much stuff, but you don't see the whole picture because you're kind of visioned by the friendships and the relationships and the loyalty of everything. I came to Fathom 6.5 years ago from Keller Williams, and to me that was a big deal just on my own. So I'm like, now I'm taking 65 people with me. So that's like a huge deal because every agent has different personalities. They like different things. Some people like change, some don't. In general, a lot of realtors do not like change. And so it was a lot of steps and processes. And it's like, okay, it's going to be a cluster for probably 6 to 10 weeks just to figure out the transition and then to transition and get used to all of the new steps. But we had some great people in place to help us to where we delegated checklists. We were like, okay, these people are in charge of this. These people are in charge of this. And then we're like, okay, we're great. And then the timeline might change a little bit. And then we shift some people up to go sooner than later. And when we did the onboarding, the onboarder came into town and we did stages. Like we had 10 in one, like 25 in the other, 10 in the other. And then the team leaders onboarded the day before. Some of them are starting the onboarding, but not technically going until after they close out their files with the other brokerages. So it was a lot of steps in place. And it was something that it wasn't a decision we took lightly. We wanted to make sure that it was the right decision for our agents, not just myself and my husband. It was making sure that because being rainmakers, a lot of people are like, you can do what you want. We don't run our team like that. We are a family. We make decisions together. And I think that's one reason why we have so much longevity on our team and so much great leadership on our team is because they trust us and they know we make decisions together instead of just saying, hey, this is what we're doing. Either come with us or don't. Like we just don't run it like that. And I can say since moving to Real, it is very refreshing with just the technology side of things. I know a couple agents, yesterday we did a Zoom for Reason, the background of everything, and a couple agents had message on our group thread or text and being like, it's so refreshing, like seeing everything simplified because real estate is so hard. Running a business is so hard. Being a parent is so hard. So when you can find things in life that are simplified, it just makes things easier. And I know so far we have a lot of agents that are excited about the simplicity of, putting transactions in there and getting a hold of the accounting department and having 6 brokerages we could go to for questions through a chat. You know what I mean? Like it's just so different than what we were used to, but that's what we were used to. We didn't know any different and not knocking it. Like it was still a great experience. But when you're growing that big, having access to 6 brokers versus one, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of been a little bit of a game changer.
So is the
Helped us grow.
Oh, for sure. I was going to say, so technology you feel like was probably like the number one thing that influenced you, that brought Real Broker to your attention?
So we interviewed with a couple brokerages and it was all at a Zillow conference at the beginning of November. And we weren't even looking for it. It kind of just happened. And to me, that was kind of a big thing because I'm like, okay, maybe it's a sign. We weren't going to look for it. We weren't calling people. I mean, I get calls all the time trying to recruit us to different brokerages. We're a big team. We were the national one team with our brokerage for the last 3 or 4 years. Um, like we have a lot that people want, which is great. And again, I don't just say, oh, hey, this is what we're doing. Like even when I talk to people, they're like, okay, if you're telling us you're changing, we know you've made your mind up because you're not one that goes back and forth, especially when I have 65 people on the line with me that are trusting us to do the right thing and to put them in a better position. And that's not something we take lightly. So I think overall, just the back end of things already has been very refreshing, especially with the technology aspect of it. And sending an email, I mean, you can chat with your broker about your contract in the system. That's like we've never been able to do that, and that's crazy, and it's awesome, and we love it so far. And it also helps our
No.
team because a lot of our agents can ask some of the real estate questions on the app without having to call them and ask them. So again, I think it's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, so Leo is a huge game changer for every time I talk to my assistant, I'm always like, "Hey, remember you can ask Leo," because there's so many times I'm having to remind myself, just like even using Chat GPT, right? Like I'm going to Google, but yet I could probably be going to Chat GPT because it's going to check other resources and it's going to be a little bit more fluid in its response to me. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of times where just learning this like our own personal AI that is pulling from what do we need to know if we don't know how to use this app or what we need to do with a transaction. So that's super neat. So yes, having a big team like you do, I could see how that is going to change your world, just simplifying. Like now you, like you said, you're actually going to focus more on growth. Like you see a growth opportunity here. So if you want, feel free to expand on that. Like what is your vision for Bachman Realty going into Real Broker?
So I think my husband, I have to give him some credit. He is retired military, he's retired law enforcement. He's the business masters guy. I'm the family studies girl. So I'm relationship, he's business, and polar opposites. You ask anyone on our team, like we're completely different, but it fits in well. You can say, I don't know, he'll be like, I'm cold, so you must be hot. Yep, vice versa. Like it's complete opposite all of the time, and he runs the back end of things, the Zillow, the technology side, all of that stuff, and then I run the real estate side. So we kind of have two separate different roles. He goes 1 to 100 in 5 seconds. I'm like, I'm barely thinking of tomorrow. He's thinking 3 years out. So it's been a lot for him to get me on board with the change. But I'm like, I think our goal is to have 135 agents between the team, the partner, and the referral program by the end of the year. We are working with a recruiter right now, which is helping a lot. Kind of get our systems in place before we start the recruiting process and the growing process. But yeah, I think with the team aspect of Real with the splits, it's very, especially being a mega team, it's very beneficial to the agents and to leaders and the downline and all of that stuff. So we were able to work a lot of kinks out and negotiate a lot of things as a mega team, because my biggest thing was like, how can I help save my agents money? How can we help, provide more technology, more tools? And all of them were like, we're glad you went to a brokerage like this, because they're like, you could have decided to go to Keller Williams or some of these big brokerages. And we're like, no, we want to do what's best for everybody. You know what I mean? Because we could go out on our own and be our own brokerage at this point if we wanted to. That's just not a vision that I see. Nor do I want, because I like the support of everything else in the background.
Amen to that. I'm like every time someone's like, "Do you want why didn't you become your own broker?" And I was like, "No, thanks. I rather feel like again, real estate is lonely. Why would I ever want to put myself in a position where I want someone I do. I always want to keep someone a little higher up than me because to me there's so much more there's so many little details that people don't think about with running a real estate business and you're like, yeah, I kind of want to make sure I have someone else that's going to be there to fight for me. So, Real Broker being nationwide, I actually am not really familiar with Fathom. And obviously, we're not here to talk about where you came, what business brokerage you came from. But I know for me, when I chose Real Broker, I chose it for the fact that it was nationwide, but not to knock the nationwide brokerages that are franchised. I really like the idea of a one brokerage for the entire nation instead of me having to individually join. Because whenever I thought about ever building an expansion team at my previous brokerage, I would have had to go join those individual market centers to ever be inside of those areas or those MLSs. So for me, when I was with Real Broker, I was like, I could actually build a team and have someone working in Idaho. So has any of those like talks of like, you already talked about being in DFW and kind of, again, you have that small expansion in Houston. Do you see yourself actually growing across the nation and having teams in all these different states?
It's definitely not on our goal list for this year because we have a
Okay.
lot we have to perfect with the expansion of Houston. And again, when you kind of run into it, you're going to learn of things you didn't know you did know because that was a new avenue for us. So we still have a lot of improvement to do on that end. I think we've really solidified DFW. We've really taken over the market here and we have room to grow. And we know the area. We're physically here. We have offices here. This is where we've built it. And I feel like that's going to always be our main focus. But yeah, we could do that maybe later down the road if we wanted to. But right now, our main focus is growing DFW.
That's awesome. Hey, you have the ability, right? So it's one of those things. I love having the option. Doesn't mean it's going to be a today thing, a this year thing, but it's an option out there. So at least there's nothing limiting you.
Yeah.
So, okay, as we're kind of wrapping up this episode, I really want to kind of dig in again on that real factor. What is something that you feel like if you were talking to your past self, if you were having to share either a lesson or something that you knew that you only could experience on your own, and if you could help someone else out there who is thinking about walking the same path as you, what would you tell them? What kind of advice would you share?
So my husband is a retired Marine, and he's always shared with me if you can make 50% of the people happy 50% of the time, you're doing your job correctly. And that's something that sticks with me because when you're talking about leading 10 people, 20 people, 60 people, 100 people, we're going to make decisions that half agree with and half don't, or we're going to start new policies that some like and some don't. And so it's really hard because when we, try to evolve and try to grow and try to go to the next level, you're going to have people or make decisions about certain things that aren't happy about it. And people don't really know that I am actually a people pleaser. I'm very blunt and to the point. I'm a bulldog. Everyone says that, but I'm also like very caring and I very like want to keep people happy. And so when that doesn't happen, I get my feelings hurt. And so for him, it's like you have to focus on the bigger picture. If you're making 50% of people happy 50% of the time, you're doing your job correctly. So I really try to remind myself of that because if we start a new policy and I get 3 phone calls of people upset, I'm like, okay, that's also 60 phone calls we didn't get of people upset. So that's a good thing. You know what I mean? So it's just really trying to balance it out and just knowing that you're doing your best.
That's good. I mean, that's as long as you can keep that anchoring yourself, right? Because that's the part where, as someone who also has a very high D personality, that I can definitely be assertive and straight to the point, but also I do have a heart. Like I'm a human. I have feelings. And so there's a lot of times where I'm like, you know what? I mean, I don't think everyone wants to be disliked. So
No.
we do care. Something I wanted to also leave with, because you talk so much about your team. I'm sure there are people who are going to be listening to this who are like, how do I join her team? Or even to the point of going, maybe I'm also someone who is in a team growth expansion. I want there to be two things you teach out here, which is who do you think, if you had to come up with an avatar of someone who wouldn't fit the mold for your programs, would you be able to call that out? Like, that is, you have a certain idea of a person that's like, yeah, this might not be the direction you want to take as far as joining one of your programs.
So the hardest problem we have is with people just in general. We've got the proven tools, we've got the proven training, we got the proven coaching, but there are just some people out there that want it their way or no way at all, and they want to tweak everything to make it their own. I'm all about tweaking scripts and making it your own because if you're not confident saying it, it's not going to come out right. But when there's proven track records in place and you're like, I don't want to do it that way, I want to do it this way, then a lot of those should probably stay on their own. But if you want to take the tools in place to grow your business, maybe get an extra 5 or 10 closings a year, I feel like we're a great place for that, a great place for training and support. And there are some people that just like being on their own and don't like any structure or accountability. And that's something that a lot of those agents are probably good individual agents on their own. But we also
Okay.
I forgot to even mention, we have an internal mentorship program for brand new agents. And that has been a huge successful program. So not only do we have the team, the partner, and the referral, we also have an internal mentorship program for brand new agents, which has been super successful. And they get Zillow leads as well. Now, we give them one, we train them on it, we coach them on it, and then we go through that. And they have a mentor with them the whole time, training them, teaching them, making sure that they're giving the client correct advice and all of that stuff. So we have, I feel like every part of the industry that you can think of, we have. And we actually started that probably a year before we started the team or the partner program. So it was always team. And then we're like, let's do it for brand new agents. Cause I know when I started with 5 agents on my own, I got to the point to where I couldn't train them. I didn't have the time and to take care of my clients and run the team. And I felt awful because I was like, there's so many great people, because you should be the hungriest and most driven with the most grit your first 6 months of real estate. And you either have it or you don't. And if you can get those agents that have it during that time, you can train them and coach them on exactly the processes that work and don't work. And they're going to gravitate to that. They're going to sponge it up and they're going to listen to it and grow. And those are some of the most successful agents that we have had, are the ones that have been with us from the very beginning in the mentorship program. And then they graduate to the team program. So there are a lot of different
That's awesome.
we have in place. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you can meet anyone wherever they are in their career, right? So one last thing is just going to be someone who is in real estate, who's been doing it for 5, 10 plus years. Maybe they're in that I want to grow a team, or I'm building a team, or is team building the right thing for me? Through your own leadership journey, do you feel like there's someone like a kind of, again, an avatar you can come up with that might not be the best person to build a team?
I probably was one of those people at one point. I know I was very against growing a team and it kind of just happened. And I was like, okay, let's go with the flow. I feel like you have to know your strengths and your weaknesses as yourself. If you think all your strengths, like, oh, you only have strengths and not weaknesses, you're not going to be a good leader. You truly have to be in it for the right reason, to help people, help them grow, help their business. But at the same time, you want people with the same drive as you, because you can have a team of 60 people and 3 people come in and totally ruin that culture that you've built. And you've got to have that mentality to be like, it's okay. Even if they're a top producer, if they're hurting the culture, I'd rather have a good culture than them. And then you have to learn to let them go. And that's always been something really, really hard for me to do. They always say quick to fire, slow to hire. And I've always done it the opposite. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But I think it's just learning your strengths and then learning to delegate the things that aren't your strengths, and knowing that if it's a weakness, you need to fix it. Like, get coached, learn how to do it, read some books. There's things to do it instead of just say, well, this is how I am, get over it. Like, it's my way or the highway. Like, it won't work for you that way at all.
That's such good advice, because yeah, if you're very rigid and you're stuck in your own ways, it's going to be a hard road for you. Are you reading any books right now? Is there anything that you're reading or listening to that you would, maybe be like, hey, this is something to look into? Is there something that you would, throw out there that someone could go grab today?
So we are doing a team leader book right now, and I'm such a great team leader. I don't even know what it's called because it's at my house, and I think I'm still on chapter 4. But we have been doing like book reading as team leaders just to learn the pros and cons and, all of that fun stuff. I will say, when I was on a team, they did a bunch of personality tests, but it was more of like, will you be a good realtor? Will you be a bad realtor? All of this stuff. And that test came back and said I was on the lowest level of being a good realtor. And so I refused to do personality tests on all of our agents, because I was like, that would have been awful if I would have listened to that, or the team would have been like, we're not hiring you because you show that you would not be a good agent. Because I was a very good agent. I still am. And so the personality test is one thing that I'm big, like, not into, but we get to know the agents before we put them under a team leader, because a lot of times they can clash and there's certain, personalities that fit better with others. But yeah, it's a book about leading, but I can't remember exactly what it's called. And if Shelly's reading or watching this, I'll probably be getting a text yelling at me here shortly, because she's
Well,
the one that picked it up for all of us.
Well, we're hopeful that maybe she'll see this and we'll be able to have on our Facebook Live someone comments what you guys are reading right now. So for one, thank you so much for joining me today. Just the thought process of moving a mega team or even growing a mega team, that sounds overwhelming, but to move one from a broker to a broker, that also is a huge change. We're talking about solo agents who have to just wait for two houses to close to move. And then you're over here like, nope, we were a 65 person organization having to move. That is a big change. But I loved, go
We
ahead.
actually had 61 closings in December. And so that was
Wow.
kind of part of it too. So it's like, okay, let's try to close as many of those. Usually January and February are the slower months of the year, just in general. So that was kind of one thing as well. But I'm like, if we would have left and there would have been 61 files we couldn't manage, like that wouldn't have worked out. So that timed into it a lot as well. And then, the 2025 we had pending, the agent stayed, or we would give to another agent that worked there that we trusted to take care of the client. So it was a big learning and transitioning experience because I hadn't done it in 6.5 years. And when I did it, it was just me and it was hard enough. So now I'm like, okay, now it's really hard.
Hey, you're here and you're talking to me. I think that sounds like a huge win. So, if anybody wants to connect with you on just a couple different levels, right? It doesn't matter if you're a real broker or any other brokerage out here. Obviously, we're all in the same sandbox, right?
Mhm.
So, but if anybody wants to learn more about you, your team, how would you tell them to connect with you?
So they can add me on Facebook. It's Tiffany Bachman, Bachman, or we have a team website as well. And there's a button on there that says learn more about our team, join our team, or if you're a client, you can read all of our reviews, our past sales, see our marketing campaigns and all of that stuff. And that's just BachmanRealtyGroup.com. Those are
Awesome.
probably the
Well,
easiest ways.
yes. And I'll make sure, of course, as everything gets uploaded, I'm going to make sure that links are there, all the things for people to connect with you on. But I'm personally just super excited to have you a part of our Real Broker family. But again, this is going to be a podcast for everybody out there in the real estate world. So, of course, it's not always the best move to move brokerages, or, that's not going to be the thing that solves everybody's problem.
Mhm.
But I definitely say it always is nice to have a real estate family and you feel like you wear the same team or brand or something like that. Just builds that community. So we're super excited to have you a part of the Real Broker family here in Dallas Fort Worth.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you for joining me today. And then everyone listening, the Real Dani Show, this is all going to be about real lessons, real estate, but just really the real life behind the social media feeds that we see. I'm an anti-fluff. Like, I'm really focused on making sure that this is a podcast that is all about anti-fluff and bringing you the real stuff. So thank you so much for joining. If you hear anybody who is learning about leadership, growing a team, or even has no clue if they're meant to be an agent on a team, I hope you found value in Tiffany's message today, because I think that she definitely nailed sharing all the things about who can join a mega team in the different ways, that there's so many options. So thank you again, Tiffany, and can't wait to connect with you more.
Okay. Thank you. I hope you have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.